There's a way to do that. I mean, if I remember right, we could go out and we could advertise again, or we could actually sit down with potential buyers and work out a proposal, and then you guys can waive the bidding as long as, how many percent? 75%?
Well, you first have to pass a resolution to authorize the sale, and then you can sit down with individuals as well. You can accept any bid that's at least 80% of the appraised value. It has to be at least 80%.
Is that just for the one property, or is that for
Any property that's included in the,
Would that change?
yeah.
I know you said no appraisal, sorry. Would that change the value of that?
Well, we don't do the 80% if we do the advertising.
Right, there's two ways of doing it. One is you just advertise the sale to the highest bidder. You don't need an appraisal, but you need a 3/4 vote of corporate authorities in order to approve it. And in that instance, the one that we just did, for which there were no bidders, you can award the bid to the person that submits the bid that's most desirable for the city. You don't have to accept the highest bid, but you look at all the variables in regards to, well, if this person buys it, it's going to be of this benefit to the city. Maybe they're going to provide for parking or do something else that is a benefit to the city, so that's why the city would sell it to someone that's not really the highest bidder. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to pass a resolution directing the city staff or hiring a realtor to go out and solicit bids to purchase the property. In that event, you can't sell it to anyone unless their bid is at least 80% of the appraised value. So those are two different methods.
So basically, we prepared two ordinances aiming toward that way we did before. Post it, put a bid date, have somebody put a bid in, and if 75% like what the proposal is, you don't have to go to the 80% level. You can say for the benefit of the community, you're going to sell the property for this amount. And then we basically are allowed to do that once we advertise it like we did before. The advertisement this time is going to also include those two other lots that were there.
So in either case, it has to be advertised.
It has to be advertised again.
If we don't appraise those lots and we allow the sale to happen at near or at the same price we accepted before, we're basically throwing in the two lots, the way it sounds to me. And also, when you say to me you're going to maybe have them try to, or you're going to try to put some stipulations or some covenants on there that you'll pave it, is it then private property and we will be borrowing parking there, or how does it become public, or can he charge to park there, or how do you see this thing? What's the end game here?
I think it's where, let's say, this is how I've looked at discussions. Somebody comes and offers, say, $100,000 right in cash, okay? Well, this other guy's gonna offer $80,000 in cash, but more than $20,000 he's gonna repay the city park that we have right now. Maybe do the tuck pointing in the old city hall, okay? Those are our property, those are for our benefit. So in lieu of the $20,000 cash, $100,000 he's gonna do these things in return. That's how we're looking. Correct. That's where I think John gets into the most desirable. Somebody may not have the highest cash bid, but they may be offered things that are benefit to the city.
But if they buy it, it's their property, no longer the city's, correct?
Right, and that's just the property itself.
But we can't put covenants into the deed and record it about easements for public use, the parking lot. You can't restrict it, you can't charge for it. We could add that as a covenant to the deed itself. So we can put certain provisions in there to ensure there's going to be a public benefit of those parking lots. Yes, he's going to need to have 6 spaces reserved for his business, but the rest of the parking lot is going to be open to the public. This type of thing.
Is this the parking lot that Hayden's typically all the customers from Hayden's use? Is that our city parking lot we're talking about?
That is
That is a.
Well, they could.
Is this the one?
Well, the City Hall, the way the parcels are divided there, from the police department to City Hall, there's that parking lot there, it's all gravel.
That's the one we're talking about.
That's the one we're talking about, that area.
Okay.
And then taking it all the way to the alleyway too, and behind City Hall. So it wouldn't just be, behind City Hall's all gravel too, City Hall. So we wanted to pave that whole area, and to tell you the truth, I'd be pushing to have to pave the alley. Because we're gonna improve it all, let's make it look nice, and get it drained right, so engineer can get everything together. But I think we're putting a cart in front of a horse. I think that's some of the thoughts we gotta talk about. And who knows, we might get a bidder, might get a bidder, and I did have another gentleman come in and looked at the old bid package. And, he wished he would have, put a bid in. And I think he thought, talking to him, I think he thought if you'd have put a bid in for 10,000, we'd had to accept it. And I told him, no, I mean, we have right to reject. If you'd have put a $10,000 bid in for the old police station, we would have said, probably not. We wouldn't sell it for $10,000.
But see, I'm trying to figure out how much space they're really gonna pick up west of that building. Because the tower is staying, right?
It's west of the parking lot, the building you're not. Well, behind the tower, there's a small sliver that's
Yeah, it's really.
alley.
You got the alley.
It's alley and sliver. I mean, it's really unique.
So you saying where the big gravel parking lot is between the two buildings?
Yes.
The other parcel is
Right.
20 feet
Yeah.
before you get to the alley?
The island station used to be there.
Yeah.
Enough to fit a car lengthwise.
Yeah, enough to fit a car lengthwise is what's probably there. That it was a weird pin number that showed up that belongs to us.
So 10 by 15, is that what we're talking?
At least one of them is. West of the tower, I know that's all it is. It's about one parking spot. And then west of the parking lot isn't much more. So, they're two small lots. I mean, we'll get you square footage, because we're not gonna vote anything tonight.
Who owns the tower?
Westcom has recorded the deed yet. We were waiting for their attorneys to finish up the final document. Remember, you guys, we gave it to Westcom. And, I mean, they're the ones handling the tower's theirs. We had a lightning strike there the other day. They fixed everything, they did everything, it's their tower. We're actually waiting for their attorney to get it recorded.
Do we have any access issues if we sell this to private owners?
We might, but I think we could work that out. Talking to Westcom, we would offer easement access, and talking to 911 center, it's just by notice, because we do have the air conditioning unit out there in that spot, and we do have the old generator that's sitting there, that's in that area.
I understand your concept, Tony, and I just would say that I'm just a little nervous about having a private citizen volunteer or accept to fix or tuck point or pave things without a package or any specs being written by the engineer and not having any control over exactly how they're
And I
done.
think that's where it comes down to.
In a time.
Right.
It'll be a real estate contract.
Yeah, that's where it comes down to the actual agreement when we get the contract. If anybody's uncomfortable with it, then we don't do it that way. But
I'm in favor of just a building.
Presented that.
So draw us up something and let us look at it. And
Well,
move forward on that.
I mean, that I won't have. I mean, we're gonna put it out to bid. I mean, we might get somebody that comes in with a package, we might get
So
somebody
you're
that
looking
comes in.
for us to tell you which way we're gonna go based on what was attached to John's letter?
Yes, I would like to put on the next city council the two ordinances to go to bid for the properties, like we did before.
But for all three properties.
Yeah. It's a sealed bid process, we have a date, and basically we bring it in, we
It's
open
not
it
gonna
up
hurt to
here.
do that, and then the decision is ours whether we accept it or
Right,
not.
exactly. I mean, whatever gets proposed, we gotta work it out.
This council meeting coming tonight?
No, it'll be the 4th. Yeah.
Well, the way I look at it is if we sell the building for 100% or whatever, instead of knocking off any money, we take that money and we can use it for whatever we want. If we knock off, say, for example, 20 grand and sell the building and let him pay the property, the parking lot, then we're spending 20 grand on a parking lot. Is that what we want to spend our money on, is putting in a new parking lot? Or do we want to be able to use the money for whatever we want?
You're not gonna get a parking lot for 20.
Well, just example.
Yeah.
Example.
That's the debate, and that's, just, you know, how or who do that.
We'll see what happens. I mean, it's like any sale, we're gonna have to see how it all comes in. But at least let's put it back out to bid, like we did before, and add those 2 lots.
I would hope that if somebody has that ability to do that, and they're interested in the property, that they would basically submit two bids. You know, that's what I recommend the staff to tell the person. I said, you know, yeah, the council may agree to it, they may not.
Right.
My suggestion would be, put in a bid with your proposed things you want to do, but then also put in a bid without those proposals in there.
That's a good point.
And then that's gonna give them, you know, the ability to do it both ways.
Would that make it harder for multiple people to bid on this then? We would have to decipher.
No, because then, I think what it comes down to, you gotta really look at the dollars and cents and see which, you know, what's the biggest benefit. Somebody may, you know, may have both people offering $100,000, and then the other person's offering, like you said, 80 and some little caveats.
Okay.
It's up to us now to determine, are those caveats a benefit to us, or is it really not a benefit at all? No big deal. They're in okay condition, let's go ahead and just go with the straight cash. So that's just something we debate and discuss with the council board.
So the committee wants to recommend to take the 2 ordinances that you have in front of you for the next city council meeting, October 4th. Then we can put it on the agenda.
Can I get a recommendation out of anybody to send these forward
Oh, make their recommendation.
to the next, not this one, but the next
Yeah.
one? And anybody who has any comments on it, I'll have time to,
And we'll get you that square footage of what those 2 small parcels were for you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, let's back up.
Yeah.
You both are swearing, am I correct?
Yes.
All right, let's back up and review accounting reports presented by Kim. What do you got, Kim?
Okay, again, these are reports for the period ending August 31st. Collector's report, there again, this is everything other than tax payments that have come in. There again, I look at comparisons over the last 3 years just to kind of see where we're at number-wise. And it's funny because we would normally have about $20,000 in our revenue at this time for city stickers. That money's gone, but our revenue is still about $20,000 higher. So it's coming from other sources. So that's a good thing, because that was what we were anticipating to happen. So, you know, we're seeing money in our year-to-date numbers coming in from the developers, coming in from these permit fees, inspection fees, some of our contractor registration fees. Those things are all showing a positive trend. Now, I don't have that in front of you here, but those are things that I think it's important to share with you, because that's why things are working. So as far as the collector's report goes, we're status quo, and I hate to keep reporting that, but that's where we're at, which is a good thing.
That's good.
Yeah, so we're status quo as far as the collector's report goes.
Can you tell us if there's any, can you tell where we're at with the truck stop yet as far as sales tax goes?
As far as sales tax goes, I can't say exactly. The last report that I got showed a positive inflow. There again, my last report ended in August. I get quarterly reports and I can't share specifics. But they, basing it at that point, that was just like, what, a month and a half maybe of operations out there. So they were coming in probably where we would project them to be. And the gaming taxes, I know that's kind of been popping around in conversation a little bit with the gaming taxes, with the VFW being closed, picking up the gaming revenue out at the Petro. Our gaming revenue keeps going up as well. So we've more than surpassed what the VFW provided. My own theory, and this is just my theory, is that the gaming revenue that was happening at the VFW has been absorbed by the other surrounding places that offer it. My thought is that the money that's coming in at Petro is probably new money coming into the community. And that's just kind of common sense if you think about it, but most of the other places that had gaming, the revenues have all increased a little bit when the VFW closed. So we're doing well with the gaming revenue. And I would anticipate that to continue growing too, because when I see what the petrol station has been doing just a few months, it's increasing. So I don't have the solid numbers on that yet, but I'll keep watching those.
We don't have really the ability to get individual numbers, do we? It just comes as a bulk thing?
For the gaming,
No, through the sales tax.
sales tax is restricted. It's hugely restricted as to what we can share. I have access to that, but I cannot share it.
There you go.
So, like I said, I could give generalizations, and that's the best I can do.
Hey, Kevin, I got a question. With our building inspector that we have, building inspection, the ordinance fee, where does that fall into?
Building inspector,
Yeah, we have
inspection,
like Pam, where
ordinance.
she goes out and she gets fines and all this for
Okay,
ordinance.
all of our ordinance fines are located in the ordinance miscellaneous fines line item. I don't have the ability to segregate that out, because when I see an ordinance fine payment, I see a CT number, an ordinance number, and an amount. So for me in my accounting records, I can't tell you this was from a building fine, this was from a parking fine, this was from some other. So it all gets lumped into the ordinance miscellaneous fines.
I was just trying to figure out a way that we could track all this. How many fines we got, is she actually bringing into the city?
Very labor intensive, couldn't it?
I mean, why couldn't we do it? I mean, I'm just, I asked.
Labor intensive,
We
isn't
can,
it?
we can find out, we can see.
We
if
can
maybe-
find out. I mean, if-
We can see if maybe a report can be put together.
But as it stands right now,
We just got to, one of the things we got to look at when we talk about that with you guys is, you know, she is part-time, limited hours, stuff like that. We always got to be careful of those situations. If she can do it without increasing the amount of hours she has to work, then, you know, we'll see what we can do.
Couldn't we pick up some of that off of the adjudication?
The adjudication log could probably, we could probably run numbers there, but if you come to the adjudication meetings, which I know a few of you have, it's a lot of it's compliance, you know, and even the hearing officer, if they, especially in the building code, if they comply with what was requested, then even the $100 fine sometimes will just be $25, which is a cost type thing. Now, if they repeatedly come back, then, you know, the hearing officer applies the fines. But we could take those, we could take the actual tickets, because there is a law that the clerks do, that we could take her ticket numbers and we can see if they can segregate that out and give a price or collection cost on those tickets. She's only issued, probably the whole time she's been here, she's issued probably about 30 tickets.
So, Kim, you're saying that $6,200 is where any of those fines would have been lumped into?
right, yeah, as well as the tickets that regular police officers issue.
So we're
So,
not really looking for her to issue tickets anyway, we just want compliance. right?
Correct.
right,
That's what I say, it's, for 5, 6 months she's been here, you know. I mean, it is building a little bit right now because she's been asking for compliance a lot of the weed control. And, you know, I have your instructions that if, you know, you give people three notices and they're still not compliant, then, you know, you gotta issue the ticket. But it seems to be working. A lot of weeds growing in a lot of areas. What else you got, Kim?
moving on, this is the monthly revenue and expense summary for the month ended August. There again, you'll notice that almost all of the funds all the way on the right-hand side are showing a year-to-date positive amount, with the exception of the capital project fund. And again, that's just more or less, we made a payment to the open lands in this current fiscal year with revenues that we received last fiscal year. So it always is going to show that negative, just because we're using old money, so to speak. We're using money that was reported last year. and spent it this year, so it creates a discrepancy. There's a minor negative in the ESDA fund, and that's primarily because we anticipate funding some of our real estate taxes into the ESDA fund, and I haven't moved any of that money yet. We're just kind of watching and monitoring, and so at this point, it looks like, as of August 31st, they were showing a deficit of $420, so it's pretty negligible there. Moving on is all of the detail by fund, and at this point, I went through and basically changed all of the revenue accounts. I had not gotten through all of the expense accounts, but I changed all the revenue accounts to more meaningful descriptions. You'll notice if there's property tax revenue, taxes that are state per capita, and then tax revenue. The state per capita, those are the ones that are dictated to us based on our census. So those taxes, I thought it might be better to see those, the ones we have no control over. The taxes, other, that's your sales taxes. Those are the things that will fluctuate. And then I just kind of cleaned up some of the other stuff in there so that there's more consistency as far as what's a grant, contract, so on and so forth. And I'm moving forward through all the expenses as well. But at this point, these are just details of the snapshot of the month in August. And again, there's more descriptions that are given at the committee level. Don't know if anybody had time to look through those or has any questions, but
Franchise fee, what's that for?
franchise fee is the cable, and that one is only paid once a year. So it's zero for now, but we've been receiving between 74 to 76,000. It fluctuates a little. And that comes in a one-time payment.
Anybody have any questions?
Okay, moving on is the check register for tonight. And that mayor report, there's not a lot to discuss on there. Most of those things are normal occurrences. I don't think there's anything unusual. Let's see, we have Healy Bender Associates out of the General Corporate Fund, and that's for some of the architect work for the design of the entryway here at City Hall. I'm trying to think if there's anything unusual in here. The Shope Shoppe Design Associates, that also was out of General Corporate. A portion of that will be reimbursed through our developers. Going on to Fund 2, there's a loan payment in there for the IUPA. As you know, we have a couple different loans, 2 loans currently in the water fund right now. One was the water main project, and one was a few years ago, improvements to the water plant. So those payments are going to start coming up as normal occurrences. Moving on, Fund 17, the Water Capital Project Fund, Zeno Performance, that's our annual maintenance agreement that we have for all of the gateways and the fireflies and basically all of our reading equipment throughout the city. There is an annual maintenance agreement on that. And then, again, with our Fund 25, the Ridgeport number 2 fund, this payment here is the large one for $4,900 to PGAB. Again, those are our consultants. So this is actually our costs. Part of our administrative costs, we're allowed to spend up to $25,000 per year for administrative costs in relation to the TIF. So I think there's probably only about several $1,000s left for this fiscal year to come out of that fund. So we've been hitting it rather heavy because there's been a lot of review and there's been a lot of getting everything in order, because this is our first year where we're going to start making those payments back to the developers. Any questions?
Anybody got anything else on that? Any questions about the ledger? You can. All right, let's move on. Let's move back over to talk about that. The request to declare the 2 additional lots, the old police department surplus property. Do you need a motion on that?
I sort of thought that motion was a combination of both. If you want to do something separate.
Is it in there or built into the ordinance then? There's no action needed with that item. Anybody have any questions about that? Or move on, let's go to new business. Review and approve ordinance for skate park surplus property.
Yeah, this is basically follow from the committee level to where our next step was to at least identify the skate park equipment as surplus property before we would even talk about possibly moving it out or closing that park. So I know there's, I've been getting calls, I know other people are getting calls about the skate park, what's the city's plans, there's an online petition that people can just put their name on and somebody got copies of that. There seems to be some interest in, if we're going to take the skate park away, what's our alternative? Are we going to offer up another alternative site in the community? I think at the committee level, some of that discussion was happening with the Rotary when it came in, that maybe that could be part of that focus group, or the park group, maybe identify a location in our communities that in a tight neighborhood like that. Maybe there's another location for the skate park.
I think that was part of a lot of the discussion was possibly located somewhere else. We talked about pilot city parks. I think the biggest concern was this is what it's safe.
Right.
Most of the rest, and I think even through all that eliminating the skate park pilot, and trying to find a better location for it, better equipment, get equipment on the road. But it's just a matter of
Is that 16-09-20-01? The ordinance we're talking about
I
here?
believe so.
Oh, on the agenda, yes.
Because there's no, it's not clearly stated as skate park, and it just says certain properties.
Correct.
Under,
And it's just the equipment. So,
Yes, it is.
The properties, the skateboard equipment. The ramps.
Okay, so that's the skate park. Yeah.
Are we looking for motion to send this to council?
Yes, I think we should at least get our first reading on it. I believe I've asked anyone who wants to, citizens want to come to the city council meeting, that's where there'll be a discussion.
And even if you approve the ordinance tonight, it's only authorizing the set.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it has to be approved, subject to consensus, and good for something all that together. The equipment still stay there. I don't think so.
No, there's no plans tomorrow that we'll move equipment.
So in reality, we're authorizing the sale of this property, which we should because of the condition it's in. But doesn't mean something to provide. I think they could describe it.
We have a chance to look at the ordinance. There's a line item in the agenda tonight under finances, number 2. It says approve ordinance number 16-09-20-01. Ordinance authorizing the sale of certain personal property belonging to the city of skate park. Looking for a motion to send this to second. Does anybody have any further discussion about the skate park? Sale of the skate park? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I made it.
Steve.
Steve, okay. I couldn't hear you, Steve. I could hear somebody say something.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to amendment to the open lands lease agreement.
Yeah, we just got the revised, made some comments on it, so when I asked us to put this on the next city council, it's basically mirrored what we amended last year. They're asking for a $5,000 payment to extend the lease for 1 more year. And we're going to be sitting down with them with the grant that's coming in to negotiate a closing on this property. But we are, right now, our lease expired in June, so they would like to authorize to extend the lease for $5,000, which we did last year. And if you remember, we did sell the cell tower, we did keep 10% of the proceeds back for administrative costs, so the dollars are there from that proceeds the pay is $5,000. So what I would recommend is that we just take this to city council. We'll have, John will have the final review of the agreement. I looked at it, it's almost word for word from last year's, the date's changed. But we're not ready to take it to city council, but we do need to extend the lease because it has expired.
This is informational, what you're telling us now?
Informational tonight, and as soon as John could do the final review, I'm sure everything is the same, then we can put it on the city council for October 4th.
Not a chance you'll have it settled by then, is there?
No. Well, we might have settled the concept, but not in writing, probably.
Yeah, right now our meeting's actually scheduled for 14.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just trying to put my schedules together.
They are open, the representative was here to meet with the mayor today. They are open for an offer from us to settle this.
Just don't want to give them the idea that we have any more money to give them a grant, that's all.
Well, and they understand that. I mean, the mayor was very pointed on what is financial distress. And at this point, financial distress this is all the money we have is that money.
Can I ask, I mean, we're anticipating 250,000 grant.
It's 251, and then they take out, I think there's $1,500 they take out for administrator. So 249,000.
Okay, and how much do we owe completely on the entire property?
We owe for the purchase price and everything else, we're probably right about $515,000. We paid $225. So we owe, we're about $25,000 short from what we owe on the property.
With the grant.
With the grant.
And they're asking $5,000 to extend a $275,000 debt.
Correct.
Until they negotiate a settlement with the
Yeah, correct. Because the grant is everything goes, there could be other provisions in there. I've been asking for the grant documents. Verbally, I'm told, our appraisal was part of when we applied. Our appraisal was given, they accepted our appraisal 3 years ago. So I needed to go out and get a real appraisal. And that's how we were able to get that grant award. The announcement I gave out to everybody the other day that we were able to get that new grant award at the same amount. And this is coming from the feds, not the state. So we know the money's there.
All right, keep us posted on your project.
Yeah, we'll bring it to city council and then on the floor to ask for an extension. We'll have more information.
One more item. Review and approve the 14th Amendment to the redevelopment agreement by and among the City of Wilmington and ADAR Bridgeport Industrial Partners, LLC, Bridgeport Partners 2, LLC.
Yes, we'll wait on this. Negotiations were completed. The attorneys couldn't get everything written up in time. What we're basically looking at is Project M. They're looking to get an assignment. Another project, not Project M. Project, I'll call it Q. But the transload facility contract has been approved.
Skip through an OMP, right?
Yeah, it's for their own P. Well, we'll screw everybody up, called Project Q. James Bond going. But that project has an assignment of up to $500,000 of the TIF funds. The contract just got approved by Prudential. The Prudential's the one selling it to the new owners. This is what we've been talking about. It's the agricultural company that wants to come in to purchase. But as soon as we get the document, we'll have it ready for city council. They want to close by October 22nd. So October 4th, they'd like to see this get approved.
Are you going to schedule a finance meeting for October 4th?
No, not unless we really need to.
What we'll do is we'll review, see what's going on,
I mean, if you want to.
Some of the topics, we still got kind of open-ended. And see what kind of concerns come across to you guys over the time period to determine whether we need to.
You can.
We need some discussion time prior to this stuff.
I'll be on vacation, so I'll let you guys
I'll
know.
see how you are.
So just let me know, I mean, even if
Every
it's
once in a
half
while,
an hour.
every once in a while, you'll take one.
Okay, so we're not going to take any action on this item tonight?
No.
All right, what's this D here, discuss elected official salaries.
Basically, I've had inquiries that come in, when is the timeline of when, salaries for elected officials, you have to have that 180 days before you take office. Your ordinance has it that you take office at the first official meeting in May. So if you play 180 days back, our timeline is ticking. If you do want to explore elected official salary, it's your guys' call, not mine. But I want to be aware that if you do want to look at salaries, you might want to consider that. If you have about, I don't know the date, I thought it was like November 1st or November 2nd is the drop dead date. If you don't pass an ordinance to change it, the current ordinance just stays in place, that's what the salaries are. So, but it's, I felt it was, it's your guys' call. Put it on the agenda, and you can have a discussion or refer it to a committee and talk about it later. The only thing I would think we might want to think about is the clerk's salary for one purpose. As we're going through the new federal labor standard and overtime for our deputy clerk's position, executive secretary, we're waiting for an exemption to be applied for that position. If we don't get the exemption, that position turns into an hourly position, because right now it's a salary position for the executive secretary, deputy clerk. And if it goes to an hourly, we cannot apply a stipend any longer for that position. When they come in to do meetings, they get paid $45 to do the meetings. One option you could consider is possibly, because that would be overtime and you don't know what that's going to cost, type thing. And to be fair, if someone's going to come in, you got to pay them just like anybody else when they get called in. They get right now we can talk about it, but a 2-hour minimum, possibly of overtime for that position to come in and do minutes. Or maybe you look at adjusting the city clerk's position and give her the opportunity when she does do minutes for committee. City clerk does not get paid because she's basically one-time payment for the whole year. You might want to consider offering up the $45 to the city clerk not for city council meetings. And that way,
Deputy clerk could be changed at any time, it's not bound by an election process, correct?
deputy clerk could be changed any time, just that her salary position could get changed from salary to hourly. If it goes to hourly, then we have to basically pay her
And this is new.
hourly.
For the
Federal
deputy
Labor
clerk,
Standard
it is,
Act
yes.
had an amendment done again by the federal government, just by executive order. And basically, they raised the salary level. It's almost $49,000, so anyone making $49,000 over can be exempt. They can be salaried employee. So the executive secretary's position is less than $49,000, so we have to abide by the federal law, and we have to change her to hourly. Now, we are looking to apply for an exemption. We don't know if we're going to be able to, if that title is going to be able to be, we'll pass the test. And I'll know that probably in about 4 to 6 weeks.
So you've applied for an exemption already? Or you've got to find out
we don't apply, which basically we do, we have to look at a job description and duties, and then see if it meets the test. And then if it does, then it will be exempt. If we don't meet that, then the attorneys will come back and say that's an hourly position. So I think we're getting close to making an exempt position, but I'm not that confident that we're going to be able to do that at this level. So, I mean, that's one discussion just to have. Should the city clerk get paid per meeting when she does the minutes for committee meetings? I think that's a fair question to ask, at least. And Judy isn't asking it, I'm asking it for her, because I think that's something fair for the city clerk. And then you guys, I mean, your salaries have been what they have been for many, many years. I don't know how many years. Would you guys want to consider a change?
I'll go on record and say I'm happy where it is. From a mayor's standpoint, I've never done this for money anyway, so, it's all for the opportunity. But I think they're fair and equal to what some other town is paying, some are paying a considerable amount more, and that's fine.
You know, a long time ago, we were sitting here and you was one, Frank was one, and we consolidated to bring the meetings to 2 meetings a night so we could save the taxpayer money. We haven't got a pay increase over 12 years. We set it to $45. I think it's something we probably ought to look at, because I think if we, myself personally, I did not put this on here, but I think it's a good idea. I think that if we step that up a little bit, we would probably get more people to really consider about running for office instead of coming in, because it's not, when we get up in the morning, and sometimes before you even get up in the morning, you get phone calls, and you spend, these guys that tell you, I spend a lot of time out here hashing a lot of stuff out, and you know, I think it'd be something that we really should look at, for the fact that you do put more into it than coming here for 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours. And I think if we step it up a little bit, we may get more people to go out and want to become city officials and start getting better, I shouldn't say better, wrong word, get more people involved into the city and start seeing what both sides of the table is like. And I think if we stay, you know, realistic, $1,800 a year isn't much for, you sit down, you think about everything that you're doing, you know. So I would consider looking at this somewhere. I know the Wilmington Township, I know they get $75 a time. So, yeah. And I've been going to take a look at everybody in the surrounding area, but I haven't done that yet.
We could do that. We could get a quick census.
You know, and see, because my theory on the whole thing is almost every year we've been given pay raises to everybody else, and council hasn't got diddly squat, and sometimes you don't even get a thank you. So, you know, I think it would be something for council to look at, and I'm sure by saying all this, I just threw the big across the face, but you know, at sometimes you just got to step up and say what's on your mind. And I think I've always said that. But it's something to look at, I think, and you know, maybe we ought to, and like Tony says, November, I didn't know how soon it was coming up.
Yeah.
But
it's probably, the safest thing would be to fix any change in compensation by the second meeting in October, because it has to be fixed. So, you know, it not only has to be passed, but it has to be signed and published and, you know, put into a pamphlet form. So it would be the first Tuesday in November, but
yeah, try to get it all done.
the other thing to keep in mind is that it has to be at least 180 days prior to the commencement of that official's term of office. So what you're doing is, some aldermen aren't up for election. So their term, you may have some aldermen making more than other aldermen, because you can't change an alderman's compensation in the middle of their term. So it'll have to be 2 years. So
not everybody would change at the same time.
No, only those would be up for the election next year. There, if it was to be passed before
Only
that,
half of us would be.
they would get the increase. Those that are currently holding office or in the middle of their term would not see the change in pay status until their election.
the only way to avoid that would be if you fix compensation to start in 2 years. In other words, you know, everybody starts at the same time. So that's one way of doing it. But it still has to be fixed 180 days before the commencement of your term. You would just, for the first 2 years, be making the old amount, and then the second 2 years would be whatever the council determines. So
try to find out what surrounding areas are making.
Yeah, we could, it's pretty simple.
But like I said, I do know that Wilmington Township's making 75. So,
And also Kim might know, I want to say that the elected officials, we probably pay around $35,000 to $36,000 a year in elected officials' salaries.
On the budget line, we
Yeah.
probably spend, last year was closer to 40,000. It depends on how many meetings are attended.
Yeah. So maybe you can bring that figure as well. You know.
I will try the last 2 or 3 years, how much we spent.
that's all I got.
All right, anything else come before the committee? Motion for adjournment.
So.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
how are you gonna do?